So the next thing I want to talk about is adding some foundation walls. Now you notice I added a bit of a second story here because I know some of you guys have second stories on your house. So I want to go over some steps later on. But it's really important before you start laying down your foundation that you really have your exterior walls where you want them. So you've gone in and you've added the dimensions on your floor plan, cleaned them up a little bit so you don't have crazy fractions and everything out there, because your foundation walls are going to snap to your exterior walls. Now, a quick note about that: depending on what type of wall you have, depends on where we need to select or place the foundation wall. So if you're doing stucco or siding, something that hangs on the wall, we are going to line up the foundation with the exterior core boundary. So if you remember, looking at the walls, our core boundary, that is this green line here. Again, this is an interior wall, just has gypsum on each side. But when we look at that here, that core boundary will line up flush with our foundation wall, whether you're doing stucco, siding, some kind of metal paneling, anything that really hangs on the wall. Now, if you're using a brick or stone, we have to support the weight of that product all the way down to the footer. So you'll notice here that the foundation needs to line up with that exterior material. So looking at this one here, there's my core boundary for my 2x6, but you're actually going to trace along the face of this. So it's really important you think about what your wall type is. And if you are using different wall types, you're going to need to make some adjustments as you work through your model here. So I'm going to switch back over to Revit. Now, before we get started here, if I go to my south elevation, I have my first floor, my second floor, and then I have basically my second floor ceiling. I do not have a level yet for foundation, so that is important to put in at this point. Again, I'll go to level. I'm in the architecture menu, and I'm just going to drop down 10 feet for right now. We can make adjustments later on, and I'm going to pop that in there. A note about levels. Now, if I need to, I can always click on the dimension and make that adjustment. You can also start to name these. So if you highlight where it says that level 4, level 1, you can type in foundation plan, first floor, second floor. Those things will then update over here. So if I make this foundation where it says level 4 in my project browser, that's going to update. I am setting this level up now because when we draw our foundation walls, they're actually going to be invisible if we don't do what's called underlaying the level. So I'm going to go back to my level 1. So when we drew our first floor plan, the walls went up. When we do a foundation wall, they actually go down from the level they're drawn on. So first thing I'm going to do is go to level 1. And I do need to think about the thickness of my floor. We can update this later, but if I click on my floor and go to edit type, my floor is 12 3/4 inches thick. That'll come into play in a little bit here. So I'm going to select my plan here. So this is my view. I'm going to select out in space, hit escape. So right now in the properties menu, it says floor plan. That's floor plan level 1 that I'm on. And we have to go down to where it says underlay. Right now it says none. Underlay is going to show up like a light gray line to help you. Like if you're drawing steps on the first floor and you need to see the second floor, you can underlay that plan. So I'm going to select level 4, which is my foundation plan, and I'm going to hit apply there. You're not going to see anything change just yet. Once we start to draw some walls in here, you'll see that. Now again, I'm using a stone wall here, so I'm going to go around the face. If you are using a siding or stucco, you're going to snap to the core boundary when you draw this. Now I'm going to go to wall and I'm going to pick foundation 12 inch, and then you have to pick what you want to do here. Again, could be core face exterior if you're doing siding or stucco. In my case, I'm going to be doing finish faced exterior. I'm going to begin to snap, and you can see how it's drawing that. If we didn't have the underlay on right now, you're getting a message that says you can't see anything. Now I overclicked that one, so let's undo that last wall, and we'll start over right on this corner, kind of working our way around, just working clockwise around our plan. I'm going to go all the way around my house right now, around the exterior. Some of you will need some additional walls. We're not going to worry too much about that right now. I'm just going to work around the house. And these garage walls are going to get set up a little different. There's actually no foundation wall underneath the door itself. So I'm going to skip over that portion and just continue to work around my house here. And then we'll make a couple edits once we're all done. Almost there. Okay. I also need a foundation wall that splits up. I'll show you this in 3D. So now I have these walls that are my foundation walls that are creating my basement. There is no basement under the garage. That's right on grade. So these walls are actually not going to be that deep. We'll edit that. But we do need a wall to separate your basement from the foundation itself. So I'm going to go back to my level 1, and I'm going to draw in a couple more foundation walls. So I'm going to bring this one right here to here, and then bring that short little piece down to meet this wall, and let's see what that looks like in 3D. So now I've kind of split off my basement area from my garage area. Alright, so a couple things. I'm going to take a look at a section view here. You may not have a section view. I went over that in one of these, but I'm going to go to my level 1 plan, and I'm going to make, I already have a section view here, but you'll go to view and then section, and I'm just going to cut through, we'll say right here on the house, and then I'm going to look at this. This is my section number 2. Now if we look here, there's that foundation wall that I put in. That's actually interfering with the floor system, and that's not what it really looks like. So you have the floor system that's supported by the foundation, and then you have that exterior material that's going to go down to that foundation level. Sometimes with a lip, that lip may also go all the way down to grade at times, but we're going to keep it simple and cut it right off here. So I need to take all of my foundation walls, and I need to bring them down so they're underneath of this floor system. So I click on the floor, and we saw this earlier here. The floor is 12 3/4 of an inch thick, so I need to make a top offset for that. What I like to do here is just grab all of these walls. So I'll go to like a 3D view. I'm going to grab them all in a window because I don't have any other modeling stuff down there. And my top offset says it goes up to level 1. I'm going to give it a negative 12.75 inch top offset, and we're going to hit apply on that, and now you can see we're getting that that it's right underneath. Now the other thing is none of these walls actually stop at the level we put in. So right now it says base level is negative 12. You could make this negative 10 because that's what it actually is off our level, or we could change a lot of things there, but we're not going to get into too much of that. Now the other thing here on our garage, so notice these garage walls now, these don't actually touch anything. So I got to take this wall, and we are eventually going to move your garage down to grade. So we could go about this a couple different ways. We could try to solve that right now, which will probably be the best way. So I'm just going to go ahead and select these walls that are around my garage here. So I'm going to just hold shift down and try to grab multiples here if I can. Control down. And we'll grab these walls that just encircle around our garage here. And I'm going to actually give them a top offset. We know our floor plan is 2 feet above grade, so I'm just going to go negative 2 feet on this one, and we'll see what that looks like. So that's about where grade might be. And then they don't have to go all the way down because these are just a footer. So instead of negative 10, let's go down like negative 6 feet on this one. So we have a little shorter wall on this point. Now we also have to bring our whole kind of garage down here. So these walls also need to move down. So I'm going to select the wall here, and then I'm going to do a base offset of negative 2 feet, and let's see where that gets us. It says it highlights, but that's good, and we're going to do that on these other 2 walls. So I'll select and I'll hit control and do both of those at once. So base offset of negative 2 feet, pop that in there. And then yeah, I've got to move this garage door down. There's a lot of little tweaks we have to put in here. That also will need a base offset of negative 2 feet. And again, we might need to make some changes later on. But that is what we want our foundation walls to look like. You may need to split a foundation wall. So if your garage is flush with a wall, you might need to break that into multiple pieces. So over in Modify, you might have to use the split tool and cut a wall in half. So I just cut this piece in half now that I have two separate segments, and I can make one higher than the other. If it's set out like this one, maybe that's not an issue. In our next video, we're going to look at putting footers on, and then we're going to look at this little gap here that we need to fill in.